Unfounded Podcast. This is your girl Hannah, aka Ruta, and this is about to be the episode where the queens clap back. You feel me? Because I got some heat from the last couple episodes. So today with me, I have my girl Rahel to the left.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Rahel Haile. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm 27, about to be 28, September 16. I'm a Virgo. And you know, my mom is from Mecca and my dad's from Austin, so let's go.
Hey
All
y'all,
right.
I did. I'm Gide from Seattle as well, 206 in the house.
Woo-hoo.
I'm 26. My parents are my dad's from Housing, my mom's from Shida and Adigat. And yeah, you can call me Zeb if I really fuck with you.
Ooh. And last but not least,
Rahela, or it's Rahel too, but Rahel Talahun. I am 23 years old from Denver, Colorado, but I was born back home. Taurus, and my dad is from Shere, and my mom is from Holotakanet.
whoa, say that 3 times faster. Hey, I didn't even do that in my own intro. You know, your girl's 28. I'm a Pisces.
I didn't know the Pisces either, so
Yeah. I'm going to just rep Makela because that's all I know, and Adwa. And then, yeah, that's all I can say. So basically, this is a response. This is going to be the response episode we had to the Habesha dating, which was the first 2 episodes of the podcast with the gentleman. There's been a lot of feedback, so it's time for us ladies to talk about our perspective, our side of this whole conversation. And so just to kind of catch people up, if they haven't seen the last couple episodes, what we were talking about is kind of the shift that's been happening in the Habesha community, where when we were younger, and all of us are kind of in the same age range, so when we were younger, I don't know how y'all felt, but I definitely was the only one that I knew was dating Habesha. Like everybody else was not. They was not fucking with it. Like they really were not. No one was trying to date their cousin, you know, quote unquote. And now with this new generation, it's like everywhere. It's like the fact that they just came out with the Gemini app, like it kind of just blows my mind. You know, like what? Y'all really fuck with each other, and it's dope to see, but it's just kind of interesting shift. And so I want to see, like, for you ladies, like, you know, especially because you guys grew up in different places, did you feel like you were interested in dating Habesha when you were younger? And like, has that changed for you now?
I guess I'll start.
Okay.
I definitely was not thinking about Habesha men if we're going to be 1,000. I was not.
Mm-hmm.
I was always more the loud, ratchet one, you know, the one that was too ratchet for the Habeshas and too black for the, or too Habesha for the blacks. So I was just like, I mean, I went to school in a very diverse collective of people. So I didn't think about Habesha people. I just thought like whoever, I never just said, hey, I'm only date black people either. But I just never thought Habesha, because like you said, everyone I knew was either like related to you or you just didn't see them in that way. It had nothing to do with just being your own kind. It's just like I didn't think about dating them then. So I wasn't really thinking about them then, but now it's a different story. Where my Habesha man at?
Where's your Hagos?
Hagos. I've been looking for him.
Yeah, where you at, Hagos? I like my girl.
I really hope his name ain't Hagos, but you know, each his own. I'll, you know, take it for whatever you bring to me, cousin.
Yeah, especially considering how big your family is.
Yeah, Hagos might be a little too. There's nothing wrong with the name. You know what I was trying to say. I might not manifest Hagos, but it's okay if I get one.
Right. The traits of a Hagos, right?
Yes.
Hardworking man.
Yes. I
mean, I guess the same is for me too. I've never not been like attracted to Habesha men. It was not that I never wanted to date them. I never said I would never date a Habesha. I'm only gonna date a black person. It was just, that's what approached me. I've never been approached up until, you know, now that I'm older, whatever. I've never been approached by a Habesha man. I was never pursued by a Habesha man. So in my head, being young and in my, you know, late teens, early 20s, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to where I'm wanted. And of course, that played a role too in who I surrounded myself with and the people that I hung out with. Of course, if I'm going to hang out around like a group of black people, then obviously that's what's gonna pursue me. Other Habeshas are probably like, she don't fuck with Habeshas, all she hang around is Elim. So why would I even pursue that? So I think that definitely took a toll in how I felt about dating Habeshas, or why I didn't date Habeshas when I was younger. But you know, now, as cousin Joe said, I'm trying to find my Hagos. Hopefully his name ain't Hagos, hopefully some more modern, but and obviously we're gonna
Berhano.
Did you just say Berhano?
Yeah.
Lord.
You like that one better than Hagos?
I just have an uncle named Berhano, and I just like saying the name. But yes, no, I feel you. I feel you, cousin girl. I said cousin girl. I meant to say cousin Joe, but it's okay. Y'all know what I meant.
Okay, cousin girl.
And then for you, Rahela.
I think, yeah, for me, like in the beginning, especially like late middle school, early high school, I wasn't really thinking about Habeshas like that. I knew eventually like that's who I want to, like have marriage with and all of that. But again, like just what I seen, at school is mostly like white guys or black guys. There's not really a lot of Habeshas. And then even like the Habesha boys, it was like they weren't really like, at least the ones I met, like they weren't really in tune with their culture, and like they're always trying to be like more of like black culture here. And for me, I know I've always wanted somebody that has like both, that perfect duo of like still values and is in tune with their culture, as well as here as well, because I mean, like, we grew up here, or if you weren't, then like you get accustomed to this culture and being an American like person out here. So, and then college, yeah, that's when I like started dating, kind of, but and then like where I had my first Habesha boyfriend at that.
Oh, juicy. I want to touch on two things because that like we kind of pivoted like that. Like we didn't, and then now we do, and we're talking about like we want to marry them and whatever. So let's talk about like what is the theory behind that? Like why do you feel like you personally like kind of switched up, or like I know for you, Rahela, you said that's so weird for me to even say that, like Rahela, but for you, it was like you knew you wanted to end up with one, which I don't think was like for the rest of us. I don't think we really said that. Like I felt like it was just kind of a shift. So if we could like touch on, like if you can speak to that, and then we'll shift over to Azib and Rahel and see like for you all where that shift happened too.
Yeah. So for me, like, well, you guys know, like, I love our culture. I value it so much. Just from like our food, weddings, language, like every single thing. Like, I've always, and I was born back home. And although like, I didn't really get the opportunity to grow up there and all that, I've still just tried to, learn more as I can, just asking my parents about the culture and stuff. And like, I love our people. I love our country. And I've just known that that's what I want to have, like with kids, and being able to even not only teach my kids English, but the other like two languages that I know as well. And even like when I go back home, especially the first time I went back home after like 12 years, everybody was surprised, like, oh, you still know it? Because I left when I was like 3.5. They didn't expect me to still know the language or like communicate with them, But going back home and seeing how much that has like helped me, getting to know my family there and being able to communicate, that's just something I want to like continue to happen like through my life and through my kids, especially coming here and being disconnected like from back home.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was in my last relationship and, dating a Habesha, it was really nice. Like, for example, just like having Boone with his family and like, talking with his parents in Tigrinya and like just all the stuff that, we can relate to and share with one another. And like being able to share that and have it, I feel like it makes it more special, like for me in my experience. So yeah, like it's really just holistically that for me, and just being able to connect with my people.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that, like, I think I said it the way I had explained it. And it was funny too, because in the video, when I was like, my girls asked me, I was like, obviously talking about Rahel and Asta, but it's just like this idea that it feels like home, like it just feels comfortable and natural. Yeah. I don't know which one of you wanted to answer first.
The question is,
Like, when did that shift kind of happen for you, where you like actually started thinking about dating Habesha people?
So I don't think I just X'd it out like
Mm-hmm.
permanently. I just think that, like Rahel Haile said, she said, like, they never approached you. Like, I was never approached. It was always like my older sister or whoever I was never approached, because it was like, I don't know if it was my face that never showed like, oh, I'm attracted to my own kind or whatever it was, but I started dating obviously into college, and what was around me was African American men, or who were attracted to me were African American men. So in college, I didn't have any Habesha men out there. But when I would come home and come to the events, because I just like Rahel, I go to a lot of functions. I love being from Tigray. I love the culture of everything, because that's just been instilled in me since I was a child. Like, if anyone knows my family, we're just really big into our culture, and my grandpa instilled into all of us. So I think I knew as well that I was going to be with the Habesha and the end goal, but it's just like, what is presented to me is what I was taken. And if I was approached by a Habesha, I don't think I would exile it, but I don't think that I was looking that way either. So it was kind of just a mixture of both. Like, I was approached, but yeah, I was just like, I don't see myself being with a Habesha, because to me, I would think about the fobs in a sense, the ones that didn't speak English, the ones that they were like, the ones that are like, oh, you stay home and do this. That's not me. If anyone like knows me, I'm very like strong-minded, and I'm very vocal with my words. That I thought that when I thought of Habesha, I know it sounds really weird, but I think that when I think you're gonna be with a Habesha guy, you think of like a Hagos or, you know, or whatever. You're like, oh, that's not gonna work out, you know, but you don't really think about people that are just like us, but guys that are not related to us. You don't think that there's Americanized Habeshas. At least I didn't. It might sound weird, but yeah, I didn't think about it then. But I also think, like, after I had my last serious relationship, I think my mom, you know, saying like she thought I was the one that was going to end up with a Habesha, and just this, that, and the other, because I'm so pro my culture. It like woke me up in a sense. It's not that I'm doing it to satisfy my mom, but it's also easier, but it's just like, okay. So then I started opening up my eyes and like, okay, like, our people we got some fine people, you know?
Thank you. I've been trying to tell. Girl, I feel like I've been saying this in high school. Like, everyone's always like downplaying them. I'm like, no, there are some beautiful Habesha.
And I just think that I've never spoke bad about them. I just like, that's not for me. But now, you know, I'm just like, okay, like, there's people like just like us that we just need to open our eyes to. So like I said, I don't think I X'd it. I just kind of pushed it to the back, because what was in front of me is what I went after, or who pursued me.
Rahel, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think this was, for me, it was nothing that happened overnight. I think when I was, like I said, in my late teens, early 20s, I just kind of was starting to accept the idea that I may not marry a Habesha, because it was nothing that I knew. Like, I've never dated a Habesha, so I was like, it's just probably not going to happen. I think there were definitely points in my life leading up to where I am now in terms of how I feel about dating a Habesha or ending up with a Habesha, that led me to that. I just got tired of having to explain and kind of defend my culture. Like, I don't want to have to justify or explain to you why we do what we do, and telling you, like, why do y'all have so much culture, like, or so many holidays, y'all celebrate everything, or y'all be doing the most. And it's like, to them, what they saw as doing the most was something that we know, like, it's no question in our mind. And then I think one thing also that stuck to me is my mom went to a Hazen in Vegas a couple years ago, and she was saying that one of the ladies' house that she was staying at, it was like the lady's mom that passed, and she was telling me how supportive her husband was of her in that moment for the ladies whose house that they were staying at. Like, and you know, they're a young Habesha couple, but he was like driving around, picking up people from the airport, taking them. He gave up his own bed with his wife for her family to sleep in there. He was cleaning up the house in the morning. They had, you know, it's a Hazen, so there's a lot of people in there. He's going to the store constantly. He's not complaining. And then I started to think, like, am I going to have to sit up here and have an argument with my non-Habesha man about what is already expected of him? Like, I'm not about to sit up here and explain to you why, you know, there's a lot of people at the house during, you know, whether it's a Hazen, a celebration, or, you know, in our culture too, if it's your graduation or your wedding, it's like, oh, we're gonna pay for the adarash, we're gonna pay for the begi, we're gonna do the decoration. Why we gotta do that? That's they own, like, it's not how we was raised. And I think Americans are hella selfish, and as a culture and as a as a people, we're not. And I just was like, I really have to start thinking about what I want my life to look like and what I want my life to be. And I just don't think the type of husband that I deserve, as in terms of the type of wife that I want to be, is somebody that's not Habesha.
Yeah, that's facts.
Facts.
That's facts. You know,
we've had these conversations way too many times.
We have. We've had this conversation a lot, and I think there's so much good in what you all just said that I want to make sure that we go back around and touch on. Like, first off, y'all already know my experience dating a non-Habesha and the Hazan thing, because that just, I went left like real quick because, like, first of all, 40 days of Hazan is a long time. And like, this man who didn't, in his defense, really didn't understand, was just like, so I can't see you for 40 days? I'm like, first of all, I'm grieving, so I don't want to see you, period. Unless you come in to comfort me, you know what I mean? I don't want to see you anyways. But it's just one of those things that, for sure, like, as I've gotten older, I definitely agree. And then y'all also hit on a good point too, that we talked about with the guys, that we talked about, so two parts of it, right? One, Habesha men, I feel like the way they approach us is different, right? So like, sometimes they're on some real friendly vibes, so we automatically put them in like a friend, like cousin, fam kind of category. And I had said that I feel like it's because the way that we're raised in our culture to be super respectful, that like this idea of how you even approach a woman could be confusing, like our Habesha woman, you're like, oh, like, I don't want to disrespect her, you know what I mean? So like, they're a little bit more cautious about the way that they approach us. And the boys felt like that wasn't the case, that they feel like Habesha guys approach us the same way they approach everyone else. And I personally have not experienced that. So like, for you all, do you feel like that's the case? Because some of you said like you weren't even approached by Habesha men, like it wasn't.
I wasn't up until recently, and let me tell you about my first ever experience being approached by a Habesha man. And I was talking to my cousin about it, and I'm like, girl, like, because she was trying to do a little setup date, a little whatever. We had never met each other. And I'm like, I'm nervous. Like, I don't know. How is this going to be? Is he going to be is he going to be a fob? Are we going to do, like, what is it going to be? Like, is he going to do a video? Conversation. I was nervous. I was really nervous. And I think I was so nervous because I was like, yo, I really want this to go somewhere, whether it's with him or with somebody else. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like with other people, I'm like, yeah, chances are this probably is not gonna work, so I really don't give a fuck how this works out, so I'm gonna just go in with whatever. But my first experience being approached and just even conversating on that level with the Habesha was, y'all, I thought he was gonna be my soulmate. No bullshit. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm just like, yo, like, you're dope as fuck. Like, the conversation, everything that happened was so natural. Yeah. And, especially in the Habesha culture, and, Rita, you were there. I was like,
that's why I'm laughing.
Is he gonna like feel up on me? Because I like a little affection here and there.
A little affection.
Yeah. I was getting all of that, and I'm like, no, like, you are somebody else. You're not Habesha, and where have I been, nigga? That's what I wasted years of my life on some Southern tea.
Yeah, so I was not even that. Just like, we all got a couple of those, like, little you feel me's that we're just like, I could have skipped that one. Like, absolutely. But you gotta learn. And yes, I'm laughing. I think Azab over here kind of like cheesing too, because we know the story. But it is like, it's different. It's different. And I've done
but I know that it's gonna be amazing. Like, I know, like, I have so much hope for it and just so much desire for it that I know that I've been told that I have too high of standards from another female, that I'm okay with that now. Like, before I'm like, oh no, I don't. Like, I think I've just been through too much shit to know what I do and don't want. Mm-hmm. Right? That if it's something that I don't want, I'm not going to entertain it. But I know when when it's presented in front of me, it's gonna be like, oh, he is it, and I know he's going to be Habesha, you know. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna settle for nothing else than that, but I know that that's what my vibes are giving out, so I know that it'll come my way. I'm not gonna attend anything else. So
Better manifest it, sis.
hey, you know how to do that. I've been for way too long, but it's okay. You know?
In God's timing. That's true. No, that's real. That's
Yeah.
really real. I think for me, like, oh my bad. Go ahead, Rahel.
Go ahead, girl.
Like, no, going off of that, honestly, like, even for me, like, when I got into my relationship, like, because my first, like, 2 years in college, it was just, you know how college is, a lot of partying, a lot of people, like, nobody's really, like, trying to be in relationships, just party, but, like, and I wasn't really with that, so I was just like, like, I don't really see the point of dating, like, because everybody's just on some goofy shit, like, so I know, like, whenever, like, a guy approaches me or comes into my life, then it'll be for a reason and like, on purpose to that. And that, like, that happened. I met, like, my Habesha dude, and, like, we hit it off, and it was so nice about him being Habesha is, like, my parents were, like, not super strict, but they were, like, strict, I would say, like, growing up, like, we didn't really get to, like, go out and stuff, so I didn't really get the freedom till like I got to college. But thank God I got the strictness, because these people be wilding out here once they get that freedom, so I was just so like, don't get me wrong, like, we had our fun, you know what I mean, but, like, I definitely always had, like, in my head, like, what my parents instilled in me. You feel me? And then, I was so scared because I told him, like, yeah, like, I can't be going around and going out, like, to see you and stuff, because, my parents, especially, like, my dad. But so, like, it was nice having having him understand, like, okay, she comes from a Habesha household, it's not like she just be out and about with me, like, until that respect and that knowledge is shared, which, eventually got to that. And, like, and then even then, like, my mom was so happy I was dating Habesha, his were as well, because, it just, like, and I feel like as we get older too, like, we're probably going to be happy seeing our kids dating, like, Habeshas, and, just not, because I mean, like, not to get me wrong, like, you can find love with whoever, but, like, when it comes to, like, your culture and, like, seeing people, like, your people, at least, like, we can't neglect our people first. But for me, it was just nice. Like, we would eat injera together, like, make shahi, like, he would make it for me, or I'll make it for him, like, just stuff like that. It was just nice, like, sharing, like, okay, you were raised right, like.
That's what I was saying too. I was like, it's cute, like, when you get, like, when they can actually respond, like, they understand what you're saying, when you can speak a different language, or just, like, culturally the goofy ass shit that we do, like, you know what I mean, like, they get it, like, it's endearing. And just a side note, Habesha babies are just so cute. Y'all,
we make some cute babies.
Are so cute, but let me not get too far deep.
Oh, we're gonna sit on that because it's facts. Because never mind.
What were you about to say?
Since we're on the topic of kids, so I don't know if I'm going left, but we're going to talk. I actually was just talking to my uncle today, and in my family, I have a big family, but
big family.
Have black, half Habesha, half white and black, and half Habesha. You know what I mean? Like, not even just my family. Who was talking about people in Seattle or just wherever. We have been recently talking about going back home, and I haven't been, which is crazy because I'm pro,
everything.
You know what I mean? So we were talking about going back home, and my uncle had told me that one of his friends took back her kids with her this time, and they're half black, and they took her back, and that back home they weren't too nice and happy about it. Like, they kind of you know what I mean? So you see that a lot. And but the reason why I brought this up is because he brings up a really important part, like how he said that if you say the kid's father is black and the mom is Habesha, and you, like, they grow up or whatever, and that somebody asks them, like, hey, what is your ethnicity? they're gonna be like, I'm black, my mom is Ethiopian or Eritrean or wherever from, you know, they're gonna be like, I'm from there. And he brought that up, and I'm like, that's interesting, because you do hear that a lot. Like, you don't hear, I am. You're like, that my mom is. And it's kind of like
My dad is, yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, my mom is, so I'm not. So he was like saying that, he's like, you don't want your kids to have that. Like, there's nothing wrong with mixed children, but it's just like, if you want it, like how big I am in culture and like us dressing up and going to these parties and having the tabas and all this stuff, like, I want my child to be like, that's me too, you know, and not just like, that's my mom, you know. So that plays a part on what I want to be with a Habesha person too, so my kids can like, I am that too, and not just my mom, like as if we're separate.
Like, we are judgmental. Like, we judge and we talk a lot of cash shit.
That's a whole other episode.
For real.
For kids, you don't want your kids to feel uncomfortable the same way you don't want your non-Habesha man to feel uncomfortable when he comes around for all the gatherings. And like, they, you know, there are probably a few set, like, you know, the cousins, they're probably cool with it. They conversate, you know, talk to him, whatever. But then there's like the older ones that are just like, that stare is, and then your man's just like, all right, babe, let's roll. And I'm like, nigga, we just got here. We can't just leave. Like, we
gotta stay another 4 hours.
Yeah, there's rules to this. You can't. There's no drive-bys. You feel me? Like,
right. And then you're like, damn. Like, I see how you feel the same way. You know, if you went to his. I mean, you know, Habesha women, they love us everywhere we go. But that's
yeah, that's right. I definitely agree with that, because, and when you really like look at it, because I really feel bad for, like, you know, just African Americans here that don't really know their roots, like, you know, their African roots truly, because I always think to myself, like, if I lived here and I did not have no culture, no, like, nothing to be proud of, to, you know, make me feel like at home inside my soul, like, that shit sucks, you know. No wonder why, like, it is how it is here in America, you know. I feel like they're so disconnected, and, you know, anytime they're like, oh my god, your hair, this, your culture, like, you know, they get so excited, so fascinated, and I get so happy to share it with them, because I'm like, yeah, look, like, this is, because, you know, that's not what they see in mainstream media. Is all war, famine, like, all this bullshit. They never show the true beauty of not just Ethiopia, but all of the African countries and what we have to offer there. And I'll be like, yeah, we got over 80 languages, we got this, we got people all shades, like, all, you know, they don't know that. And, you know, as I dive in deeper and learn more about my culture and my country in general, and just everything about, like, Black people, it gives you such a sense of pride, a sense of belonging, but, like, I feel like to a bigger purpose, like, you know, just Black is beautiful, but we can't even really put into words, you know, how amazing it really is to be able to connect. And I really can't wait for you to go back home, because there's no like, literally I cry every time I leave, because there's no experience.
We had this conversation.
we
real, like, you know, even like those little things about going back home, and, like, you know, you don't have all the comfort and things that we take for granted here, like having a bathroom, like running water, light and stuff. But being back home humbles you like no other, but in such a good way. Like, you learn so many things about yourself, and so many things that, like, help you understand who you are and where you come from. And, like, nobody can take that away from us, you know, no matter, even being here, seeing all the racism, seeing all, you know, like, we have a different kind of connection, I would say. And I would really love to, like, you know, share that with my kids, and for them to have that as well.
Yeah. Y'all,
sorry, I kind of
oh, you're good.
Like, to go like, it's happening next year, 2021, period. That's all
you have to, yeah.
They're trying to plan for us to go too. But so you guys hit, like, y'all hit on two things. For first and foremost, I think something new that I just thought of when you guys were talking was, I feel like the women really hold the brunt of the pressure to, like, carry on traditions. Like I didn't really think about that when I was talking to the boys. Like, but I really do, like, we really do most of the work, like, when it comes to all the cooking, like, organizing all the parties, you know what I mean? Like, the
don't get me wrong, my dad be in there cutting up that the ice and all that, and we be in there too. He be helping my mom out.
No, so this was something that Nebu said. It was like this idea that the men get to the option to help. like the women are expected to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, yeah, like that really just kind of blew my mind, because I was really just thinking about that. Like, we really do hold a lot of the culture in terms of even just church holidays. We dress up way more. Like, what? The coordinated
sure do.
outfits? You crazy?
It's
like,
fun though.
I'm saying, I love that shit.
I can't wait for it.
No, I do too. I just think like for the men, like low-key, they just have to show up sometimes. Like,
No, that's real, honestly, because my mom, like, she used to always be like, so for me, like, she never wanted me in the kitchen like that or whatever. Now, you know, I'm like taking notes, like watching her and stuff. Cause well, our shit just be taking forever, man. Like, whew, Lord, like that's just a process.
labor.
But you know, like she was like, when I was young, I had to make abhi and injera before I went to school, and I'm like, I barely wake up for my classes. Like,
Yeah.
you over here have to make, you know, everything, you know, and just things like that. Knowing how she grew up, she didn't want that for me, you know, because some like parents here like low-key kind of be on their, like, especially the girls be on their girls, like, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to be making bunna. My parents were never like that. My dad didn't want me to see it. Now they do, obviously, just like so I can learn, and when I'm on my own, like, I'll be straight. But you know, seeing that and like seeing my cousins back home, just like they started cooking when they were so young and all that, but then also just like the little things, like, which I don't mind helping because it's like love, you know. My mom always says, you know, I don't mind like waking up early to cook up a storm for you guys and clean the house, whatever, you know, because that's love. Like, I want to make you guys happy. I want you guys to feel comfortable and relaxed at home. Or even just like, you know, having Boone with like my, like in my last relationship with his family, you know, I would like get up and help like Pastor Boone. Like, it was just second nature, you feel me? And things like that, like, we enjoy, like, you know, I'll cut up some Habesha, you know, just those little things that you like also connect with and stuff. But there is such a high expectation on girls, like, it's ridiculous.
It is. And that's something that, so like I had brought up, is that that because the gender roles are so like they're just so old, you know what I mean? Like, they're so like, it's the patriarchy, you know? And you know, Nev, you made a good point that it's everywhere, but I just feel like our culture is so traditional, you know, like that our parents still raise us like "Aguala tamzita gabur" or whatever, you know, like you kind of like they instill it in us too. And some of it is good because like we can obviously take care of ourselves, you know, but I feel like the boys didn't get that as much. So sometimes I feel like they're a little bit babied or spoiled or whatever.
A little bit.
Yeah, I said a lot, and it was really defensive about it, but you know, a lot. And I mentioned this idea of like almost feeling, for me specifically, feeling like like resentful towards them. Like, I have to do all this shit, and I just be looking at y'all just lazy as shit. You know what I mean? And like sometimes that'll show up in your relationships, because if you feel that way like about your brothers, and then you know a Habesha man is approaching you and like you relate those two things, I was like, sometimes I have to remind myself, like, you can't assume that like all of them are going to be the same way, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's important to have those conversations early on, especially with, like you said, that's just how we were raised. And I mean, we can all speak for that. Like, we all have one brother, I think. So it's like the boys in our family are hella baby. And you know, we've had these conversations with, you know, our moms and our aunties, like, y'all baby them so much that now they are going to expect their wives to treat them like how y'all treat them, and that's not the case. So when we start dating, I think it's important to say, like, yo, how do you feel about gender roles? Do you think that, you know, the man should be the one going out and getting the money and the woman's supposed to stay at home? Or what are your expectations of a wife? Or these are my expectations of a husband, you know what I mean? I think they've changed a little bit. I think especially for me, at least in my family and my dynamic, my dad, you know, whenever he can, or, you know, he's definitely out there to like help my mom in whatever way possible. So it's nice to see that, you know, especially like they say, like, usually for females, the first man we ever fall in love with is our father. So I'm grateful that I have that example of a man in my dad, you know, that he cooks and he cleans, and he's never like been like, oh, you're the woman, so it's only up to you. Or even he tells my brother, like, you know, these are your sisters. How you treat your sisters and what you do and take care of your sisters is going to reflect on how you take care of your wife.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the moms in our culture need to get it together when it comes to, hey, boys.
Girl,
And mama.
I just had that argument today. I was like, ooh, they love to be like, my son. Okay, we get it. Chill. Like,
we what they?
I know.
like, okay, what about Zaguale? Like, I'm confused. That should be, anyways. I get so, you can see, like, I get so irritated. And it's like, I really try hard not to bring that in. But I've also dated multiple Habeshas. So, like, I've definitely had the conversation. Like, so what are you expecting? And that's something I brought up, like, this whole idea of them, oh, I want somebody like my mom. Like, like it's
because I've said plenty of times, like, I want somebody like my dad.
I agree. And that doesn't mean him being Habesha. It's just that how hardworking, how they're not just the money. They're checking up on you. They're here for you.
Yeah.
It's not that, like, my dad is, like she said, it's your first love. It's who you look to. It's like, I want my dad or my husband to have his qualities like my dad, but not be the exact person. You know what I mean? Because he'll have his flaws too. And I think that's the misconception with that as well, is because people think that you want me to be your dad, or a boy saying, I want you to be my mom. No, I want you to have these qualities that I love from my mom, but you don't have to be the exact same person. And that's why I think that gets so screwed up sometimes, because there's nothing wrong with you saying that, but just know that I'm not going to be your mom. I can't have qualities like her or be respectful or whatever, you know, but just don't expect it to be the same thing. But I also agree with that, because I've said I'm fortunate to have a great dad to say, like, I want someone like my dad as well.
Yeah.
You know? So
I agree.
I say nothing wrong with that quote, but just there's going to be some tweaks and alterations to that.
A lot. I know for me it's like a lot. I would say though, like, sometimes too, I have to remember that, like, my parents are a little bit unorthodox when it comes to, like, thinking of, like, traditional Habesha parents. You know what I mean? Like, I was allowed to go out and kick it with my friends, and, like, not so much sleepovers, but, like, you know, I got to do a couple growing up and, like, stuff like that. And my dad's also, like, super open-minded in terms of, like, you date, marry whoever you want. Like, this nigga wants to get matching tattoos. Like, we're, you know, like, a little bit different. So, like, that part, I'm like, yes, absolutely. And he does, you know, like, I do have to give him a lot of credit, and my mom a lot of credit for just trusting me. So by the time I got to college, I didn't need to wild out, because I, like, got to experience my whole childhood, you know? I think you do have to have the conversation. I feel like part of it too is us getting older and knowing what we want. Like, as I was saying, like, you know what you've been through and you know what you want. You know what I mean? And something that I kind of noticed, at least with Habesha men, like, they just put us on a pedestal, you know, where they see, like, what I tried to explain to the boys is, like, you see us like your mom and your sisters. You know that we deserve, like, you know what I mean, like, a certain level of respect. Like, you can't just, you know, talk to us crazy or whatever. And something that we kind of talked about is, or not even with them, but just this idea that, like, men feel like they have to have their shit all together before they approach you, you know? Like, Habesha men want to, like, they want to be in a certain place. Actually, I'm not even gonna say Habesha men, because I've experienced this with non-Habesha men too, is like, oh, like, when they actually respect you as a woman, you know what I mean? And they're not just trying to waste your time. Like, they're like, oh, I'm just not in the financial place that I want to be in, or I'm not in the career place that I want to be in. Like, they're trying to come to you ready, because they know that, like, I don't know.
They know what you deserve.
Like, yeah, like, they have, they put this expectation on themselves. And I'm sure, like, our culture also puts that expectation on themselves that they should provide and they should, you know, be stable and stuff, that also makes men a little bit hesitant to approach us, you know? Does anyone disagree?
That we're on a pedestal?
Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot of that's expected from us. I mean, I think back then it was just like, oh, you're expected to cook and clean and take care of the house and whatever. And now it's like, you got to do all that. Plus you have to have an education, and you have to make your own money, and you have to be, you know, yeah, you were raised in this American society, but you also have to make sure that you don't get lost and forget your traditions. So I think a lot of us have probably struggled trying to maintain that balance. and keeping ourselves happy and our families happy, and making sure we don't disappoint them, and trying to find a happy medium. I mean, being a bad bitch is hard. You know what I'm saying? And
So is.
okay. No, but it's hard. It's something, but there are some things that, you know, I am like, yeah, nigga, like you would not be, not that you wouldn't be shit without me, but understand that you might wear the pants, but I control the zipper. You feel what I'm saying when I say what I'm saying?
Yep. No,
That's right.